Marsha.
Welcome to the 2.0 Grandma Podcast. My name is Dr. Marsha McLean, and I am your host. And I'd like to welcome you this afternoon to talk with a very special guest that I have, Miss Dee Dee Moore. Dee Dee has an organization called More Than Grand. And first, I'd like to tell you about our podcast. It is a show about grandmas, for grandmas, by a grandma. So Dee Dee, welcome. Thank you
Uh,
so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Marsha. I'm so excited to talk to your listeners about More Than Grand and all the things we offer to grandparents.
Yes, I'm so excited too. I love the work that you're doing. But before we get into that, let's talk about who Dee Dee is. Give us your background. Tell us about the grandkids. We want to hear all that stuff up front.
Of course, that's the most fun, right? Right.
Yes.
I have three grandchildren who are three, almost five, and almost seven. They're all my son's children. I have one son and three daughters
Oh, okay.
who are spread across the country, and so that's my family. I spent a lot of years as a military wife, and then eventually had a career as a communications consultant. So
Huh.
I did that for a few years before I started More Than Grand, and that informs a lot of what I talk about on our website.
So we have that in common, the military background. I am a military spouse too. My husband is retired now. God, 23 years, I think it was, and three kids,
Yeah.
during that time and lived different places. Now, my husband was Navy. What was yours?
He was in the Marine Corps, and
Okay,
he
okay.
he did 28 years and four kids. And yes, we lived a lot of places, and there were a lot of times I'm sure you also experienced single parenthood during those years. And yeah, there was a stretch that I had four children in four different schools.
Yes.
So
Yes, it's a tough life. It really is. A lot of people think, oh, well, you get to travel and all that. Yeah, that was the fun part, but it
right.
was also challenging not being around family.
That is
Yeah.
so true. That is definitely one of the hardest parts about the military life. And I think that's why you end up with such great friendships, because
Hmm.
people band together and provide that family for one another.
Yeah, it kind of forces you to make friends. So if you're a shy person who doesn't, who's a little bit, awkward and not like to make friends or whatever, if you're loner, that's may not be the life for you.
Yeah. Or else you'll get over it pretty quickly.
Exactly, real soon. Yeah, because we all need a support system. And I tell you, that was probably the toughest thing for me because when we got started in the military, my I have one child and my son was maybe around maybe two. I don't even know if he was that old. And so all of our lives, basically, in their lives was on the road, so to speak. And yes,
Yeah.
I was most of the time I was a single parent for the most
Yeah.
part because my husband
Yeah.
was on the ship. Yeah. So it
Exactly.
made me the independent woman that I am today, right?
Exactly. And I credit the years as a military wife for giving me the attitude like, if you need something, you just find a way to make it. And
Yes.
so that's actually how I started my website. When I
Mhm.
became a
Mhm.
grandmother, I just didn't find the resources I wanted to out there. And so I figured there were probably other people looking too. And that's how I started my website.
Now, how long ago was this, Dee Dee?
That was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so, or maybe actually, I guess it's getting closer on 4 years now, but it was, I hadn't been a grandparent for very long, but I was just frustrated that there really weren't the the resources for new grandparents that I wanted to find. There are a
Uh-huh.
lot of grandparenting sites out there. So many of them focus completely on activities or
Mhm.
lifestyle stuff. And really what I wanted was information about how important it is to be a grandparent and how to really make the most of your role to have an impact on your grandchildren and your family.
Yeah, and they say that there's no manual for parents. I'm sure you've heard that expression before,
Of
right?
course,
So there's not one for grandparents. There was
there
not one
is
for grandparents.
there is
So,
not. There is not.
y-
And that's the gap I'm trying to fill.
yes.
So
Yes, yes. And I love your essentials, grandparent essentials. I saw that on your website. Lots of really good resources there. So share a few of the resources with us so the listeners will know about those.
Absolutely. So New Grandparent Essentials is my main course that I offer on my website. It's just a digital download, but it goes through all of the things you need to know as a new grandparent. It has a whole section on creating a great partnership with parents, and how to do that with specific questions to ask them. It also goes over what you want as a grandparent, to really think about your role. What impact do you want to have on your grandchildren? And so that's an important part of making the most of your role. And then they're just practical things. There's a section on baby care and safety, and what's new in parenting. There are a lot of new trends out there.
Yes, there are. Yes, there is. Oh my God. So
Yeah.
my mother always says, I always have to tell my mother this, grandparent is not what it used to be. Whereas, for example, here's a good example. My mom, even though we were far away, because we were traveling, with my husband and living in different places, she would always try to insert herself into my parenting style, right? No matter what it was. But today's parents are a lot different, and they don't allow you to insert yourself as much
Mm,
as I allowed my mother to
no,
insert herself. Yeah.
we've raised them to be very independent, which is
That's it.
wonderful, but it's coming back to bite us sometimes.
Exactly. That's what I say to my husband. I say, well, we really did raise them to be independent thinkers. And so now that they're doing that, we have issues with it. We
Right.
can't have it both ways, right?
Exactly. And that's, it's a big mind shift for
Yes, it
grandparents
is.
when their children become parents, to be able to say, you're in charge now. I'm
Mhm.
not the one that gets to make these decisions. And that's hard.
Yes,
That's
it's very
hard.
hard.
So
Yes.
that's
And
that's that's what we try to talk about at More Than Grand. And I have a lot of information on my blog about how to set those boundaries and why they're so important. So
mhm.
that's
Yeah,
another great resource. Just
I
the
would
blog.
love
It's
yeah, I would love for you to come maybe on a Zoom, because sometimes I do Zoom events for grandmas as well. And it's important for them to hear, especially those grandmas that are raising
yeah,
grandkids, to hear that there's a new way of parenting now
yeah,
that may be a
exactly.
little differently than you raise your own children. And so I've
Right.
been wanting to find something to offer them. So that's something you and I can, talk about offline. But I think that would be a great idea. And I just thought about it, hadn't thought about it until now.
That would
But
be
I want to
great.
hear also about, I saw on your website the what is it, grandparent superpower or
Oh,
something?
yes. Find out what your grandparent's superpower is.
I love
Everybody
that.
has something that they bring to the table. And, maybe you're the enthusiastic grandparent, maybe you're the flexible one.
Hmm.
Whatever it is, that comes with benefits and some things that might cause trouble for you. The enthusiastic grandparent can very easily just go a little too far and make life more difficult for parents without realizing it. So the quiz helps you identify what your superpower is. And then
Uh-huh.
it, of course, gives you great tips on how to, once you get your results, you get great tips on how to maximize the benefits of that power and minimize the things that might cause trouble for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that, about what my superpower is. And I don't know. Well, my
You'll have
grandchildren,
to
let me
take
tell
the
you a little bit
quiz.
about my grandchildren, because I think it may vary from what they consider my
Oh,
superpower.
yeah,
Let's see.
true.
Right. May vary from grandchild to grandchild. So I have a couple that, well, five of them, more than a couple, that are teenagers now. And then one that is middle school, what is she, fifth grade, and then a
Mhm.
brand new baby that is 19 months
Oh my
old.
gosh.
So yeah, they're spread out. So my superpower for that 19-month-old is like everything grandma is right. Everything grandma said, that's right. So just me as a person, I'm the superpower. And then for the 10-year-old, I think we connect on a level like because the rest of them are mainly boys, and there's one girl that's a little older, and
Mm,
so we connect on a level that's like none other. And then the rest of them, like there's five of them, 4 or 5 of them that are boys, and they're all teenage boys by now. Like 13,
yeah.
15. There's one that is 19, about to turn 20 next month. And then there's a girl in there that just turned 18. So
Okay.
I think they would say, I'm gonna ask them that tomorrow because they're all coming to my house tomorrow. So I'm gonna
Oh,
ask them, what is grandma's superpower?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you can
I
get a
want
good
to know what they
conversation
think.
started with that.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
want to know what they think because I think my superpower is like having fun and that sort of thing. Kind of being like I said, enthusiastic, being upbeat. But I wonder what they think about me. It's funny, and
well,
when they're teenagers, I think they see you a little differently as well. So
absolutely. But you
yeah.
you bring up a really good point though that it changes as they get older. Your relationship to them changes, and one of the things that I keep trying to help people understand is that setting those setting the steps up in the beginning, doing the things that create that bond in the beginning
Mhm.
enables you to change with them so
Mm.
that as
Mhm.
they need different things from them, you know them well enough to know how to support them as they get older and their life changes. So,
Yes. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing because that 19-year-old that's about to turn 20, we have lunch sometimes. We talk about, adult, he calls it adulting. I think that's the term they use now, right?
it is the term,
Adulting
yeah.
kind of situation. And then the one that is a freshman in college, she just came home for spring break, right? And so we had a conversation this past Sunday about, how is college life? Do you like it? What would you change? And she said, well, I don't know if they like me over there, Grandma. I said, Layla, they love you. Everybody loves you. But you have to put yourself out there
Yeah,
and make friends, and intentionally connect with people. So
yeah,
again, a totally different conversation that we never had to have before,
right,
right?
right.
So yeah.
And it's so wonderful to have. I mean, that's one of the things that a grandparent can be is that person to have those conversations with that,
Hmm.
you you know that your grandparent loves you and that nothing you say is going to change that. So
Exactly.
you can talk about anything.
Yes, and that's to me, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That is the beauty of that relationship. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
That is what makes it grand. Oh my
It
God.
is. It is indeed. It
Yeah,
is
because with your
indeed.
own children, you figure you can say anything to them, but then they can, children, at certain ages they'll get, oh, I can't stand my mom. I can't, my daughter
Right.
used to write this down in her diary. I can't stand mommy or dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But the grandchildren, they never say that about you.
No,
They
they
never
don't.
say that
No, they
about you.
don't.
So I love that. I love them for that. Yeah. So I want to hear more about, your resources and some of the things you're doing. I want to hear what some of your future plans. But we want to take a little break right now and we'll come back in a few seconds, about 30 seconds, and then we'll talk about what you're gonna do, what you're gonna do next.
Excellent.
All right. All right, Dee Dee, tell us now what's in the future for more than grand? How can you be
Well,
even more grand than what you are right now?
well, what I'm so excited about right now is I'm getting ready to teach a master class for Grandparents Academy. And
Yeah.
Grandparents Academy has, I don't know, I think it's 14 different courses available in the spring for
Mhm,
grandparents. Some of them are specifically about grandparenting, and some of them are just important things, topics for those of us at this stage in life. But I'm
mhm.
teaching a course called New Grandparents First Steps to Success, and it
Mm,
will have everything new grandparents need to get off on the right foot to make sure that they get the most out of that relationship and minimize the chance to make the mistakes that can happen when
mhm,
you don't when you step into any new role. So
mhm.
I'm really excited about this opportunity to to reach more grandparents who want to be intentional and want to make sure that they're doing the best job they can for their grandchildren.
Is this online, hybrid? What's the format?
Yeah, so it's a 5-week course, and each week one of the units will be released, and then there'll be a live question and answer at the end of that week. So it's all online. You can find the link to it on my website, which is morethangrand.com.
Okay.
And yeah, it should be an exciting class.
Oh, okay. So you won't it won't be like a Zoom. It'll be I can't remember. Is it asynchronous? I can't remember. I always get confused by those terms. But
Yeah,
is it the one where you do the work yourself and then you'll do a live Q&A with people like an office hour kind of thing? Is that
exactly. So they'll be able to watch the course video and then come to the Q&A after seeing that. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that means that grandparents can access it whenever they want to. They don't have to be
Yeah,
somewhere
exactly.
at 6 o'clock on Tuesday night. Okay,
Correct.
excellent. I love that format because that means that you could do it on your own time, when you're relaxed, in the morning if that's your best time. We all have our own little time
Oh,
that's best for us.
absolutely.
Yeah, okay, okay, I like that format. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I like the live Q&A because then that helps you or helps the participants, the grandparents get to know you too as well. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And
Okay.
there's no way I can cover everything that everybody wants to know in the amount of time that I'm doing it. So that Q&A gives people an opportunity. If there's a situation or a question about something I said, they'll be able to come back and ask it. So
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
excited about it.
Oh yeah, that's pretty exciting. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. What else do you have in plan?
Well, one of the other things that I'm planning to create, which I haven't yet, is a grandparent parent babysitting agreement. One of the top hits on my website is people searching for grandparent burnout. And a
Oh.
lot of grandparents and go into helping out with the babysitting without ever really talking about the parameters. And
Mm.
so I'm going to create something so that they have it's not going to be a formal legal document,
Right.
but
Right.
something so that they can, spell things out in advance and make sure that, and the main thing is so they talk those things through. I
That
know
makes sense.
I had a friend who was watching her granddaughter every Tuesday. That was her day with her granddaughter, and she
Mhm.
absolutely adored those days. And she was planning a trip, and that was fine. She, let her son and his wife know that she would be gone for these 3 weeks, and that they would need to find other care for their child during that time. And then when she got back, she got sick, and she was unable to care for her for another 2 weeks. And so her son and her daughter-in-law said, "We just can't count on you anymore, and you can't do it anymore."
Oh my
She
God.
was
I
devastated.
know. I can
So
only imagine.
and that's the kind of thing that could have been prevented if there had been some sort. It took her by absolutely blindsided her to have this
Mm.
special day disappear. So
Right.
that's the kind of thing I want to be able to help people avoid
Yeah, and
by.
here's another situation. I can't relate to that because I haven't done that with my grandkids where I've watched them on a weekly basis, daily basis, anything like that. But I was thinking one of the things that I always say about grandmas, my thing is the 2.0 version of grandmas, right? And the 2.0 version says that okay, now we love our grandchildren, we will interact with them, but we are not built-in babysitters, people.
Right, right,
We are
right,
not. And so
right.
don't think that we are. And so sometimes there's a lot of grandparents, especially grandmas, that get that. Oh, grandma will watch the baby, grandmas will watch the kids, as if grandma does not have a life of her own.
Exactly. As if grandma did not spend a whole lot of years watching kids already, you
Hello,
know?
thank you. Especially if they were military. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah.
So anyway, that's something that I'm really excited to get going. I've kind of put it on the back burner while I do this Grandparents Academy course, and I'm also revamping my whole website. So that's taking a whole lot of energy and time. But
Yeah.
I know that that's going to be really useful to a lot of people
Yeah.
when I get that out there.
That sounds very exciting, and I think that that grandparent parent agreement, I think that is definitely going to be a big hit because again, I think that's something that's needed. And one other one that I might want to suggest for you to do. Grandma's not a bank either,
Yeah.
so let's get some financial literacy here for these grandkids.
That's actually one of the courses that's going to be offered at Grandparents
I know I
Academy
saw
is
that. Yeah, I
yeah,
saw that.
yeah, it's a good one because I know I have to admit I can remember being in college and wanting to go visit my boyfriend and asking my grandfather for a check. So
I know. Yeah, we help out there too, And
yeah,
again,
we do.
I'm just excited that we can do that. My husband and I don't know how excited my husband is about it, but I'm excited that we can do that to help our grandkids out. But I know that for myself, when I was in college, my parents couldn't afford to do that. Okay,
Yeah.
so if it were not for scholarships, I would not have been able to even go to college. And so we were not at that level, economically. And so it really helps me and makes me feel really good that my husband and I, are able to help them out. But what we don't
Absolutely.
want them to do is to think that we are a bank. So
Correct.
that's important. We want them to
Correct.
learn financial literacy. And so that's another thing that as Grandma's 2.0 that we talk about as well, how to teach your grandchildren. So that's exciting. I was really excited when I saw that on the Grandparents Academy work lineup of course catalog. So that's
Yeah.
exciting too. Yeah.
We know how important it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So tell me this, Dee Dee. I want to find out how people can get in touch with you. For example, I know you've talked about your website, but let's talk about that a little more. And then also your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever other social media sites.
Excellent. So my website is morethangrand.com. And to make it super simple, I am at More Than Grand on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook. I have a YouTube account that has nothing on it yet, but it'll be there someday.
You're aspiring, right?
Exactly. There's only so much time in the day, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Now tell me, well, how did you come up with that name More Than Grand?
I'm a word person,
Uh-huh.
and I just kept playing around with different combinations, and
Mm,
that just popped into my head. And
mm,
the website was available. I mean, nobody had registered that one yet, and it just felt right. Because
mm.
isn't that what we want to be? I mean, we don't want to just be grandparents. We want to be more than grand.
Yeah,
So
I love it. I
yeah.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and I hate to say this because my background, and I don't know that you know this, if I've ever said this to you, but my background is early childhood. So I teach
Okay.
teachers to work with young children. And teachers have a tendency to say, well, we're more than teachers. We're almost like parents. And so I always tell them, do not say that because
Yeah.
that is not true.
Right.
but
Right.
but in this context, I like more than grand.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because I think that's it. Because we want to be their go-to, we want to be their friends, but we want them to know that we love them. And yes, it can be more than grand. So
Yeah.
if there was a word grander
Yeah.
or grandest, then that would be it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that would
Exactly.
be it. Well, I've enjoyed talking to you, Didi, getting to know you more and getting to know more about More Than Grand and the work that you're doing. I think it's very exciting. I think that our listeners are going to love it. I can't wait to for this to air. Any final thoughts, any tips, anything you want to share with us that is just that you think our listeners would be of value to them? They would gain some new knowledge or anything you want to share at this point.
Well, I think one thing that too many grandparents don't think about is that there's so many opportunities to make grandparenting a richer experience, both for you and your families.
Mm,
And, we tend to approach grandparenting as something that we can just do intuitively, which we really can for the most part. But there are so many ways to make it even more amazing. And just as we would look for resources for anything else we enjoy or try to learn about any new role we take on, it's worth it to take the time to learn more about being a grandparent and how you can be the best grandparent you can be.
mm. I love that. You're right. You think that it is a role that, like I say, intuitively everyone would know how to do. That is not true, though.
Yeah.
That is definitely not true.
Yeah.
And that whole intentionality, I think, makes a difference. Even now, we talk a lot about, in the field of early childhood, we talk a lot about intentional teaching.
Right.
So, you think, well, I went to school for 4 years and I'm certified, I can be a teacher, but you may not have learned everything that you need to learn, or you may not have, maybe it's not the theory, maybe it's the applying of it. So there's that as
Right.
well. So
Right. Well,
yeah.
and then the other thing, I think teaching is a great example. There are the people that you're interacting with, as
Mm,
you may know what you think you know everything about teaching until you get the child who has a parent that has an issue and they didn't cover that in your class. So
right.
there are always new circumstances and always new opportunities to learn new things in any
Mhm.
role.
Yes.
And grandparenting's no different.
Exactly. And and we always say, well, oh, you're a grandparent now. Oops, what does that mean? Right? And
Right,
does
right.
it vary? Here's a question for you as an expert in this field. Does it vary if, and someone asked me this, if you are, for example, someone asked me this question. So if you're the grandparent to your daughter's child, is that easier than being the grandparent to your son's child?
It can
I thought
feel
that was
it
a
can
tough one. There should
it's
not
a
be a
tough
difference,
question,
though.
and it can feel easier
Mhm,
because most women turn to one another, turn to their mothers. That's a natural thing.
mhm.
But it doesn't have to be easier. I know I have a really wonderful relationship with my daughter-in-law, and I feel just as welcomed into their family as I would with my own daughters who are
Mm,
not yet having children. So
mhm,
we'll see how it feels when that actually happens. But
mhm,
for a lot of that mother-in-law daughter-in-law relationship can be really tricky,
mhm.
and that's something else that I talk about on my website is
Oh, good.
how to navigate that and how to create a better relationship with your child's partner. So
Oh, that's excellent. Okay. So I think what I want to do is connect to your website as well. I don't think I've done that. I think we're following each other on maybe Instagram and
I
Facebook.
think on Instagram,
Yeah,
yeah,
but I definitely want to do that because there are a lot of, like I said, a grandma asked me that question, and I
yeah,
was kind of taken aback, and I'm like, I didn't really think about it because my daughter, this is her first child, and like I said, the child is 19 months, so
right,
I just jump right in. But then also I have six others where I've had this grandparent experience now, and so I don't know now if that would have been the first one, and I don't know. I don't know,
yeah,
but that is interesting. And
yeah,
so to know that there's some information out there to help people feel better about it, or at least, n- you know, take that into consideration, I think is really good. Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I'm really excited about that. And so Dee Dee, again, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really love the opportunity to get to know you a little better, and I think that we're going to work together on some things. I'm hoping, like I said, I want to definitely connect to some of the information that's on your site, and maybe even do some other things. So again,
I'd
thank you
love
so
that.
much. Thank you so
Uh,
much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And
oh,
again, to my listeners, this is Miss Dee Dee Moore, and she is the founder of More Than Grand. So thank you, Dee Dee, for your time today. And I just want to say this is the 2.0 Grandma Podcast, and we are a show about grandmas, for grandmas, and by a grandma.
Thanks so much.
Bye.